Well, we should be live. We'll see. Hopefully we got it.
Be good. You're bad, right? Oh, that is you. I didn't think I was going to get it. 21. Physical health. We are on contemplate. Back at the top again. Yes, we're contemplate or forward. Hey Doc, I just want to let you know, right? You gave me that bottle of water.
Yeah.
Somebody stole it. So what we do about that?
Well, I do apologize, but I'm the one that stole it. So I'll give you another one because I thought I gave it to you, and then when I came back, it was not moved, and then I looked a long time later, and it was still sitting there, and I said, well, obviously he doesn't want it, and he don't want to tell me.
No, I did one because I had opened it up and drunk.
I'll get you another.
Okay. You ain't gonna still listening.
You didn't spit in that one, did you?
No.
Well, it's too late now. I think I've already used it.
Ew.
No, but I just picked it up, but I'll get you another. Okay, so it's about time. Today we're still on that health in recovery week, and on our stages down here we're on page 21, and on the stages is talking about where we are when we're working back, trying to get ourselves back into a place where we are healthy. Yesterday we just had poor health. And look, a lot of us are going to have poor health for a long time because if we've used a long time and we've eaten poorly and we're using all kind of drugs and stuff like that, and we are not exercising, we're not doing anything, and we're smoking a whole lot and all of that kind of stuff, our health is going to suffer from that. So a lot of us have poor health. But as we move forward, we get to a place where we're contemplating, and contemplating means you've thought about it, and you thought about making a better physical health choices. This says bettery. I don't know what the word bettery means, but I think it's just better physical health choices. But we've not yet developed a plan. We don't have an idea where to start yet. Now, I know that here, I see some guys out there working out and stuff like that and doing a good job. Whatever you do, it doesn't make any difference. I go to a gym over here, and I have another one in Anahuac that I go to from time to time. This one over here, everywhere you look, it says nobody is judging. This is a no judging zone. And so you got fat people, skinny people, old people, young people, all kind of people in there working out. So it's not about, we got one guy in there that he's ready for the stage. He's looking good. Looks like a smaller version of Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he's prime. So he's looking good. So whatever you're doing at whatever stage you're doing is advantageous for you. It's a good thing to go do something. So I see the guys working out here. When I used to go over to North a whole lot, the ladies over there walk around that building. They've got a perfect setup just to walk around. It's about, I guess, a quarter of a mile once you walk around that whole thing there. And they'll do that 3 or 4 or 5 different times. And that's really good exercise. But at this place, we're moving a little bit. One of the things that can happen when we're high or we're drunk or something, what will we do?
Take off running.
Take off running? Well, sometimes, I guess. Sometimes that's what we ought to do is take off running. But a lot of the times, we get high, we get drunk, we're really not in our best mind and all of that stuff. And we'll do just about anything, right? Or just about anybody, right? Sexually, we'll do things we probably wouldn't do if we were sober. Things that we would not normally go and do, we'll wind up doing. And that's what everybody noticed the board. I know you can't see it very well at North, but it's really, really good one. This guy, it says over here, love hurts. What does that mean?
Love hurts.
It does. Exactly what it says. Yeah, love hurts. Sometimes after you've gone and you've met somebody and they were just wonderful and you felt that immediate connection, and then before the night was over,
she was with your brother.
Say it again.
I said, when the night comes, she's with your brother. That's why the hurt come in.
Yeah.
God,
she cheated.
Yeah.
So at some point, though, during the night, you become a couple, things happen. And then a couple of days later, you go to the bathroom and other things happen. And that's love hurts.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
Amen on that.
Yeah, and you can get stuff. Yes, sir.
I'm kind of lost. What things happen, man?
Well, you come see me after class. I'll tell you about some. I can understand how you wouldn't know about those things, but a young guy like yourself, you wouldn't know about those things. But those things do happen, and sometimes when they happen, things don't turn out. So there are things out there. There's STDs out there. There's even worse than. About the worst thing right now that you could go out there and find out is that you wake up the next morning you have HIV.
Well, that's this other one now called syphilis.
Yeah. And there's new stuff coming along all the time. So we've got to be cautious about all of that kind of stuff.
Especially think she's a woman, then come find out it's a man.
Dang.
So. We're not talking about that area. We're going to be talking about the diseases that we might catch, because we're in that health time, and this is when that is. Your counselor is going to put a certificate of training in your file for this. The state says that you have to be trained on HIV and AIDS. Why would we train about HIV and STDs and stuff like that in a recovery program.
Why would you do it? Because you face that every day in your addiction.
You do face that, and I like the way you said that. You face that every day in your addiction. Because as we use, we will use people. And people who are using people. And so we'll go out there and we'll do some of the stuff that we know that really we might ought to be a little more discerning about what we're doing. You know, because if that person will do that thing with you, they will do that thing with anybody. And that's something we need to know. So one of the things we're going to look at, this person here is obviously out in the woods. He has gone out in the woods to go potty because he came too noisy in the city. So he's out there, and things hurt, and so he's out there in the middle of the woods. We're going to talk first about HIV. We're going to talk about that a little bit. HIV is not the death sentence it used to be, is it?
No, it's not.
Back in the 80s and all of that stuff, if you got HIV, you needed to get your stuff together, put your stuff in order because you're about to croak, right? Yeah, they've got all kind of medicines now. You can have they've got some really good med cocktails that you can take now. They're pretty expensive, but if you can get those things, you can live a fairly normal life. You can live. I know a young lady who contracted HIV when she was 13, and she's now way up in her. She's headed toward 40 now. She's got like 3 kids. She's been married a long time. So all of that stuff can work out now. That doesn't mean that you want to have AIDS or HIV because HIV is a chronic disease. What does that mean?
It'll kill you in the long.
It'll kill you in the long run. You can't get rid of it. It's just like addiction. You can't get rid of it. You can't get rid of a whole lot of other different things that we have. Diabetes is incurable. There's a few other things. Heart disease is uncurable right now. Cancer is uncurable right now. All of those things are chronic diseases that are incurable. HIV is exactly the same way. You can get rid of syphilis. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, when we get to syphilis, we'll talk about it. But it's syphilis, and we're not at syphilis yet. So I don't want to get into it. But syphilis, get rid of it when one shot. One shot of penicillin takes syphilis out. No, one shot of penicillin takes syphilis out. If you get it when you first get it, if you go and get that one penicillin shot, it kills syphilis. If you go right away. If you don't, all of the sankers and all of that will go away, and you don't have anything that doesn't bother you anymore, and it'll go away just like you don't have it. And it'll come back about 10, 12, 15 years later, and when it comes back that second time, then you have to have 12 shots. You have to have one a month for a year to kill it. But you can get rid of syphilis. So, of course, that's what the AMA teaches. You might have gotten something that's better than they're teaching, and that's fine. And if you have, we'll certainly take a look at that. So, but first I wanted to know about that. Look, we got this much stuff. Yeah, we ain't going to get it all done, right? You look at that right away, just smart as you are, you know, we ain't going to get it all done. But we're going to skip through it a whole bunch, and that's okay. What HIV is a lentivirus, and what a lentivirus is, it affects a whole bunch of different species, and I'm going to be going pretty quick so we can get through that. These viruses characteristically are responsible for long duration illnesses and long incubation periods. What does that mean?
Takes a while.
Yeah, they can stay in your body a long time before they come out and make something. Before that's like syphilis. When you first get it, it takes about 2 weeks.
They say it lay dormant.
Yeah, it does. That's what that incubation means. It can lay dormant. That's a good word to use. It lays dormant in there. It's kind of hidden, but it never goes away. So, it's going to be in there for a minute, and It's like it goes away, but it's going to come back on you. Yeah, you know, and it can do all sorts of things to you while it's in there. So that both of those are those types of things. The virus is transmitted as single-strand RNA and is converted to viral DNA. So it gets in your DNA. It's in there at the cellular level, which is then passed on to every cell in your body. So when you say, what does this disease affect? Every cell in your body.
Mainly the T cells.
No. T cells are completely different stuff. T cells are what fights that's what fights the disease. That's what they say. If your T cells are at this level, then you know you're fighting the disease well. But when those T cell levels get down to a certain level, then the disease is beating you.
So when do the viral load come in?
Say it again.
When do the viral load come in?
Where the viral load come in? We're going to get to that. The viral load is what those T cells are.
Yeah.
The viral load is what your T cells are. So once you know that you have the disease, you go in and they check your viral load every time you go to the doctor. And the viral load are your T cells. And the doctor says, okay, your T cells are at 227. So if you're a guy, you're still in pretty good shape. But if your T cells get down below 200, then you're headed for AIDS. If you're a lady, if they get below 300, then you're headed for AIDS. It's different for guys and ladies. It's because our bodies are made so differently that the T cells, the viral load makes a difference in your, what gender.
So what if your viral load? What if your viral load was at like 900?
900. Well, if your viral load's at 900, if your T cells are at 900, you're pretty good shape. But if your viral load, if the virus is up there, is defeating you at that point in time, you probably should build your, get your thing put together. Get your will put together at that. What if it's at 336?
You're doing pretty good.
What if it's at 11?
Oh, you
What if it's at 14?
You did.
Anybody else want a number? Look, I can see that some of us have been in some of these classes, right? But we're required to teach it again, and there may be somebody here who hadn't. So, some of this stuff, it's not going to teach me anything, may not teach any of it. Human viruses, look, HIV-1, here's some of them that have not been eradicated. These are things that we've been fighting for years and years and years. Some of these since the turn of the century, they haven't been gotten rid of. Herpes, it's not gone. Epstein-Barr is a type of cancer thing. It's not gone. Varicella zoster, that's another one. That's a type of cancer that we can't get rid of. Things that these all attack the immune system. They destroy certain types of cells in our body, and the T cells are there to fight this, and the CD4 cells are there to fight as well. HIV is a retrovirus that causes AIDS. What is AIDS? Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So what does HIV stand for? Human immunodeficiency virus. Okay. What is SIV? We're going to talk about that a little bit more in depth, but SIV is simian.
Simian?
Absolutely. Hey, man, we've been in group 15 minutes. Yeah, absolutely. Simian. Yeah. I mean, like 15 minutes in group. I don't know how you've held it that long. So simian I can't say that word very well. Immunodeficiency virus, okay? That's what simian, that means monkey. So years and years ago, back in the 80s, we think that that's where we got the HIV virus. Yes, it started in the monkeys. It was simian, the SIV, And then because the folks in that part of sub-Saharan Africa kill and eat monkeys, they got some of that blood in a cut in one of those hunters or something, and that virus jumped from the monkey into the human, and it went from SIV to HIV.
So
and
how did it get here?
How to get here? Well, I'm going to tell you. But it got in there, and it mutated and became something. In the monkey, those guys have it. It's like a cold to a monkey. It's just a cold or something. But to a human being, it'll kill us. So what doesn't hurt, an animal can kill us. And so HIV is a retrovirus. It causes that AIDS. Many viruses that affect humans are never eradicated. They persist for the life of the individual. Once you got it, and it ain't going to go away. We talked about some of those in 2006. That's a whole long ways back, right? The World Health Organization estimated that AIDS kills more than 25 million people since it was first recognized. It has killed that many people since it was first recognized, and one of the most destructive pandemics that we've ever had. Now, we've got it under control now. Yeah.
I do have one question.
No, you have. That's the fourth one. Go ahead.
That's good.
You're doing well, yeah.
To learn.
Yeah, you're doing good.
So when you catch, my question is, you have to go through HIV in order to get AIDS.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. AIDS just doesn't happen. You have to have. AIDS is the end product of HIV, right? Yeah, it's the last stage of it. So, AIDS has killed more than 25 million people, making it one of the most destructive pandemics in the whole history of the U.S. It destroys a certain type of the cells that we have. The T cells, the CDC cells are fighting it, but they get destroyed after a while. As they get destroyed, then that's where your viral load comes in. As your T cells are defeated, your viral load goes up, and it turns into AIDS after a while. HIV-1 is thought to have originated from southern Cameroon. That's a country in Africa. The virus jumped from wild chimpanzees to humans during the 20th century. There were two ideas about how it jumped from the chimpanzees into humans. One was, like we said earlier, people hunting and eating them. And when they were cleaning them, they got a little cut or something, and then that virus got into that human. And then the other one is that there was some of those hunters that were out in the woods there having sex with wild chimpanzees. I'm going to tell you, I don't think that's going to happen, because I think it would be harder to have sex with one of them wild chimpanzees than it would to kill it and eat it. Because that's just not going to be something that's going to go on real easy. But it jumped from those into there, and the type, this type is thought to be more virulent and more easily transmitted once it got into the human beings and became HIV. It jumped around a whole lot. It originated in the 19th century. HIV-2, that was HIV-1. There's a different one. HIV-2 is just a little bit different. It also came from monkeys, thought to have originated from the sooty manga bee. Y'all ever heard of a monkey called sooty manga bee? That's the only place I'd ever heard from about a sooty manga bee. They're smaller than a chimpanzee, and they're just a small monkey, but again, in that part of Africa, they catch them and they eat those things. Would you ever eat a monkey?
No.
Never been that hungry. But if I was that hungry, and just like here, there's places in the world that don't eat cows. When we see a cow, we think hamburger. Go to India, they think God, when they see a cow. And, so it's just different. And so they eat monkeys out of matter of course. That's what it was. It was an old world monkey of Gabon and Cameroon in the 19th century. It was first diagnosed in 1987. HIV-2 is less transmittable and virulent than HIV-1. It is confined mostly to West Africa. And I'm going to tell you, if you look that up, it is really destructive in southern Sudan and West Africa. That places most people have it, and tons, there's thousands and thousands of kids without parents down there because their parents have died from HIV or from AIDS rather. One of the things that causes it, they take their kids when they're girls and their boys get 12 years old, they take them out of the house and they put them in a long, what's called a communal cabin. And, you put 12-year-old boys and 12-year-old girls together and they're going to have sex. Give them about 10 minutes, they're going to have sex.
What did you say your name is? HIV-2.
HIV-2?
Yeah.
What about it?
What year did you say?
In 1987. That's when they first figured out about it. Now, HIV differs from other viruses in that it has a high genetic variability due to its fast replication cycle. What's that mean? Yeah, it's going to change a whole lot. Every time you get something that's going to fight it before you know it, it's not going to work anymore. It's going to change. It keeps changing over and over and over again. That leads to a whole lot of different variants, and it becomes drug resistant very quickly. Now, look, they have figured out how to get that thing pretty much under control, but like I said, it's pretty expensive. The drugs that they use to deal with that, we have a prison in the area that most of the people in that prison are infected with HIV. And when it comes time for them to get out, they'll do something to stay in that prison because you are paying for their HIV medicine. And I've had the opportunity to walk down through that prison, and Brother Mark over there has too. So HIV differs from other viruses, so we know all of that. It replicates and leads to different groups of the HIV-1 virus. SIV, we already talked about it, is simian immunodeficiency virus, closely related to HIV, but it exhibits a somewhat different behavior. Its all natural hosts are African green monkeys and sooty Bengal bees. Its natural host, which is present at high levels in the blood and evokes only a mild immune response, doesn't cause anything. They don't die from AIDS. They don't get AIDS because, like I say, that virus only gives them something like a cold. Cold is a virus. A runny nose. So, yeah, maybe the flu. They get a bad case of it. So it's nothing to them. 3 groups of HIV have been identified. There's group M is the most prevalent, and it's subdivided into 8 different subtypes. So there's all sorts of stuff, and they're learning more and more. They're still studying it. The AMA and APA are studying it all of the time. They'd like to get a vaccine for it, just like we'd like to get a vaccine for everything, but they haven't come up with one yet. But they do have a lot of stuff that's going to help it. Subtype B is in North America and Europe. Subtypes A and D is in Africa. Subtype C is in Africa and Asia, and also a whole bunch of other subtypes that are down there. And there's a whole bunch of them. This is why it's so prevalent and so easily gotten down there in the nation of Africa. Even in the country, my daughter-in-law comes from Nigeria. And even in Nigeria, there's a lot of HIV and AIDS. And so, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, which is AIDS, is a condition in humans in which the immune system begins to fail completely. Our HIV, the immune system hasn't failed. Sometimes we think the immune system's failed, but it's not. we do have a problem with our immune system, but at that point in time, the immune system's still fighting. It's fighting like hard. And so, it's not able to defeat HIV, but it's fighting really hard. It never stops fighting. But once we get to that place where our viral load is at a level where we can't make it anymore, and it's going to get on over into AIDS, at that point, it's not fighting anymore. It's dead. It's gone. So at that point, too, you don't have, once you're diagnosed with AIDS, do they quit working on it? No, they keep fighting. We have medications that they give you. However, your chances of survival at that point in time come slim to none. This tears your immune system up. It begins to fail, leading to life-threatening infections. Now, here's the deal. It is not AIDS that kills us. What kills us? Those infections, opportunistic infections. Like, what's a good opportunistic infection? Pneumonia kills a lot of folks. There's 7 or 8 different types of cancer that we get. A really bad cold can kill you. COVID will murder your butt if you have AIDS. And so it's like that. So we have a bunch of those things. It can take years for a person to reach that stage even without treatment. That's because your body is fighting back. Your body is always going to fight back. There's a couple of ways that we can tell that we have it. I want to see if this has it yet. If this talks about it. If not, I know about it. That's it. That's it. Now, there's a thing called T cells. So what is a T cell?
It's like a white blood cell.
It's like a white blood cell. It is a white blood cell, and all of those, it is one of those that fight infection. If it fights infection, it's going to be a white blood cell. So T cells belong to a group of WCBs. What is the WCB? Oh, you just told me. White blood cell. WBC is called lymphocytes. T cells are further divided into a bunch of subsets. There's a helper T cell. That's a middleman. He's an adaptive immune system. They secrete small proteins, and they're also called CD4 plus T cells. They are the target of HIV. Your body makes those to fake HIV out, make it come and attack those T cells. Because when they come to attack those T cells, guess what happens? You have some warrior T cells as well. And your warrior T cells are kicking butt. They're going to kill them, and they kill the HIV virus by the millions. And if you didn't have those cells, then that HIV would turn into AIDS within weeks. So these guys are kicking their butt. So this is called cytotoxic T cells. The cytotoxic T cells destroy virally infected cells, tumor cells, and they are CD8 T cells. These are your warrior cells. The other cells are attracted cells. They get up there and they say, hey, come get me. And here comes HIV, and it comes over and jumps on them. Then the warrior cells go in there and kick butt. Yeah. So, and there's also, the next one is really neat. They're called memory T cells. And the memory T cells, they're antigen specific. What does antigen specific mean? When they feel, when they see, the reason they're called memory T cells is that they just kind of hang around. Once the HIV and all of that stuff is gone down and the medicine is taking care of it and all of that kind of stuff to a certain extent, then the memory cells just kind of hang out in your bloodstream. And when they hear of another one of them popping up, those memory T cells are there. They know they're supposed to go and fight that. And those memory T cells don't just fight HIV. If you hurt your finger and it gets infected, what happens? Gets a lot of pus and all of that mess in there. And when you squeeze it, that little white stuff comes out. What's that? That's them T cells. And a lot of those T cells that come out are memory T cells. Because the last time you mashed your finger and it got infected, they remember what you did. And so they're still in your bloodstream, and you mash your finger again and it starts to get a little bit of infection. Boom, they're there. So that's why you got those things there just immediately to start fighting all of that stuff. Now these guys, they remain after the infection is resolved, after the infection in your body's gone, they still hang around providing long-lasting immunity. That's what they're there for. When an emergency happens, they're there. They're like the firemen in your body. They can be either CD4 or CD8 T cells, but they're going to be there to do that. Okay, that's enough of that. Memory T cells, I kind of like memory T cells. I think that's interesting. Regulatory T cells are T cells that act as suppressor T cells. They provide maintenance, immunologic tolerance. They're there to make sure that that T cell is trying to rebuild your normal immune response. Anytime you get sick, your body responds to it, right? Anytime you get sick, your body's going to fight that thing. But something can be overdone. And then there's what's called the NKT cell. Anybody want to take a stab at that? We got the WBC thing. Pretty good. NKT is natural killer T cell. These are even tougher than the warrior cell. These bridge the adaptive immune system with the innate immune system. What that means is I have an adaptive immune system that fights everything that comes up there, but also have an innate immune system. What does that mean? I have an immune system that's only going to come to my defense when something horrible happens. When I got a big deal happen, like AIDS is trying to take over, that innate means they sleeping. They're not doing anything. It's just sitting over there. These T cells are the ones that say, hey, wake up, come on. We got to fight now. So there go get them. We also have the Yo T cells. Your body is full of T cells. You're just T celled up. So we have the Yo T cells. They're a small subset that possesses a distinct protein on their surface that's found in gut mucus. But they're there and they're waiting to do something when something happens in your gut. If you get HIV, is something going to happen in your gut? Yeah. Because every cell in your body is going to be infected. So they're going to be there to do that. They have that on their surface. They make up about 5% of the T cells. So they're in there. Now I know we've heard enough about T cells, right? The theory about where it came from, and I know we're doing this a lot, but I want to go over it again. The theory is the Hunter theory about where HIV came from, was that the virus originated in a type of chimpanzee in West Africa, source of HIV infection. West Africans slaughtered the monkeys for food. Scientists believe that the virus jumped species, and when humans came in contact with their infected blood. However, there's several theories. None of them are unanimously accepted, and the topic remains controversial. I still believe that's about the only way I can see that happen. Some old boy said, well, what about if somebody went out yonder and had sex with a wild monkey? Have you ever seen one of them chimpanzees? They will tear your face off. There was a lady that at somewhere, and the monkey tore her face off. These things they're 3 times as strong as you are. There's no way that happened. It's crazy.
Well, if that's the theory that's where AIDS come from, how about every other STD? Where did that come from?
Well, there's all sorts, and we'll get to STDs here in a minute. But there's a theory about where every one of them came from. This one, this is the theory for that one. So, and we've got some other theories that are pretty good. That's a good point, though. Where does everything else come from? Yep.
So you do disagree that the sex thing is false?
I just can't see that. Now, there's always an outlier. There might be some monkey out in West Africa somewhere that just, okay, he's all right or she's all right with having sex with human beings. I don't know. That could have happened. I don't know. But, I just ascribe to the fact that they were hunting and eating them because they do that all the time. Anybody here ever did any hunting? You ever skinned anything? You ever got cut while you were skinning something? I mean, you scrape, you cut. I haven't done a lot of hunting in my life, but I've done some fishing, and I've got hooks stuck everywhere you can stick a hook, and and trying to clean fish. I've gotten a little nick here and a little nick there. When I first got here in Texas, my future father-in-law said, "Hey, I got this whole big old pot full of blue crabs. I need somebody to help me clean." He didn't tell me that I was going to get stuck 19 times, and he didn't tell me every one of those was going to get infected. But you don't want to do that. Crabs will eat you alive, man. They're bad. So anyway, I believe that's where it came. Another theory is that the World Health Organization suspected some type of connection with its vaccine program. And so, but I don't, that's been disproven. Over several years, the virus slowly spread across Africa. It got stuck and we can spread it by blood-to-blood contact. We can spread it by sex. We can spread it all different kinds of ways. It's spread sexually, it's spread by any kind of blood. This is why when if one of you guys fall down and you bust your head wide open and there's blood everywhere, what do? Treat it as if it's infected. Treat it as if you had virulent HIV, AIDS, and all kinds of things, and alien DNA. And we're not. Don't go up there and stick your finger up. Like, yeah, that's blood. That's the blood. That's right there. It tastes just like blood. That's what that is. Don't do that. And same thing like toilet seats. If you go in the toilet, clean the toilet seat off, wipe it off before you sit down on that, because you don't know. And the viruses die relatively quickly. Right? They're going to die real quick.
Once it's in the air.
Once they hit the air, they're pretty much gone. They need a warm, moist place to live. But I'm still going to wipe off the toilet seat. I'm going to do that. I'm going to wipe it down. I'm going to put some water on there. I'm going to wipe it down. So anyway, over several years, it went across Africa, and they were having a whole lot of problems with just pretty quickly. And then in the history of it, you had asked about the history of it. And the virus was first isolated in 1959. They knew there was a virus called HIV in 1959. 1978, gay men in the U.S., Sweden, and heterosexuals in Tanzania and Haiti began showing signs. 1980, we had 31 deaths in the U.S. 1981, the CDC reported 5 men with those symptoms in L.A. 1982, CDC links new diseases to blood, or links that new disease to blood. The term AIDS was used for the first time, and a total number of deaths was 853. A plasma sample was taken from an adult male that was living in what is now called the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's where the first one was found. It was found HIV tissue samples from a 15-year-old African-American teenager who died in St. Louis was found in 1969. What else do we need to know on this one? Nothing. 1983, blood banks first warned of possible contaminated blood. They found HIV virus, and the U.S. president still has not mentioned the word AIDS in public. 1984, we had 4,251 people dead of it. 1985, they approved the first HIV antibody test. Finally, the word AIDS is mentioned by Ronald Reagan. Rock Hudson, y'all remember him? He croaked from AIDS in 1985. U.S. Surgeon General Everett Koop published the first report in 1986, and we're up to 16,301 who had died. In 87, we came up with some new drugs for it. 88, we banned discrimination against federal workers who had it. 89, Haiti stopped sending blood. We stopped taking blood from Haiti. All of that kind of stuff. Amanda Blake. Anybody remember who Amanda Blake was? That's Miss Kitty from Gunsmoke. Y'all remember Gunsmoke? She died from HIV. She died from AIDS.
Miss Kitty.
Miss Kitty, ain't that so sad? That's so sad. So 1990, Ronald Reagan apologized for not paying more attention to it. There's a whole lot of other stuff here that's happened, and we're not going to go over all of it. We got a lot of new drugs and everything that's working a whole lot better by this time. So how did it, somebody asked earlier, how did it first get here? Okay, all right, I got you. Back there, the first person who brought HIV to the United States was a gay man who was an airline steward, and he flew over here in the early 80s, and he had contact with people in every airport that he landed in, and he had HIV, and as he had sexual intercourse with people at every one of those, when he left, they called him patient zero, and when he left the United States, he left with about 16 people infected with the disease, which meant he was, in his sexual encounter, pretty prevalent. He you know. Might have been. Might have been. But I'm believing he probably had sex with some men in Africa and then brought the virus here to the United States. And that was in the early 80s. And it has spread, and it is still spreading. You know, there's still people getting that every year. So sexual intercourse is the major mode of HIV transmission. Why is that?
Why is that? Because everybody has sex.
Sexually intravenous drug use.
All of that stuff, yeah. The deal is that, you know, it's in a lot of the secretions that are in our body. It's in semen, it's in vaginal fluids, it's in all of that kind of stuff. Like we said, it's in every cell of our body. Yes, sir.
Not trying to veer too far off topic, but wasn't there, I don't know if it's fact or false, but they were saying that when they initially come up with the vaccine for the COVID, that there was a portion of HIV that went into that. And this is what I've heard. So,
and I have no idea.
As I've said, I don't know if that's fact or false.
He was saying that the COVID vaccine, which is not a vaccine, but the COVID shot that they give you had a little HIV in. I doubt that seriously, because that would, and that's me not knowing, but I doubt it seriously, because that would be infecting you with HIV, which is a whole bunch worse than COVID. COVID is like a bad cold to a lot of people, but so sexual intercourse is how you get it. Transmission occurs when infected secretions come in contact with genital, oral, or rectal mucous membranes of somebody else. Sometimes also blood to blood can happen in that. Sometimes there's there's rough sex and stuff like that. So both partners can have a little bit of bloodletting on that. Also, M to M sex, that's male to male sex, is usually there's a little bit of tearing on both partners, so it can get that way. Blood to blood product route accounts for infections in IV drug users. Y'all remember the guy that was the tennis player, Arthur Ashe? Years ago, and I think it was in the 80s or 90s. Arthur Ashe died from AIDS, and his was because of he got a blood transfusion and he got HIV from it. So nowadays our blood is in a whole lot better shape, right? I know. Excuse me.
Yeah, they run another test. They did back then.
Yeah, we do a lot. our blood is treated, it is pasteurized, it is homogenized, it's better than our milk, and so it's in good shape. If you go to other countries, a lot of those countries, I know people who go to some third world countries to get surgeries and stuff like that. That's not a good plan because they don't do that to their blood, and you can still get all of that stuff from their blood down there. But so you need to, if you got to have a surgery, do it here. So a lot of transfusion do that. This is also in most blood in the all blood is checked for HIV in the developed world. That means in the United States and Canada and the UK and all over Europe, you're pretty safe. There are some other places in third world countries they still reuse needles, and we use a needle one time. You shot, throw it away. I give myself at least 2 shots a day. Most of those needles are thrown away. I tell you, never use it. Now, I have. Sometimes when I have to do it and I don't have, and I find an old needle, and it's covered up and everything. I'm the only one that's ever used it, But every time you go to the doctor, they have a sharps container. They throw that stuff away. In third world countries, they give you the shot. They put it in a little cup with alcohol in it, and it'll sit there until the next patient, and they pull it out of that alcohol and give you another. And use it. And then we used to do that here. In the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, we did it here. Yeah, and probably later than that. We cleaned that stuff up and put it here. So it's also spread through the sharing of leeches.
Leeches?
Yeah. Does anybody know that we still use leeches? Yeah. Leeches I've never had that done to me, but we still, in the United States, we still use leeches in some medical things, but a leech sucks out the blood from one person and can do that. Can you get HIV from a mosquito?
Yes.
No. Can't get HIV from a mosquito for 2 reasons. One is because they have like a little check valve in that little thing there, and they suck your blood. They never break your skin. Did you know that? They never break your skin. A mosquito, when they bite you, if you look at a mosquito's little nose thing, it wiggles. It's not strong enough to penetrate your skin. You're like Superman to that guy. But they take that little thing and run it down beside your hair follicle. It gets down in that little spot where your hair follicle is connected in there. Then they release a little bit of something, a chemical, that's what stings so bad when you get bit by a mosquito. That makes the blood come up out of that thing, and they suck the blood from there. And now, they've been looking at that little chemical that mosquito has for years to try to figure out how it worked. But that also kills the HIV virus. And so, you can't get it from a mosquito. But it feels like it can. It can be, although, the thing with the leech is pretty rare. But it can be transmitted from mom to a kid when they're having a baby. Nowadays, ladies with HIV can have children. We have drugs that we give the mom. We have drugs that we go through the stomach, give to the baby in the womb, and when the baby is born, they do the cesarean section thing and take it out that way, and then there is 3 or 4 different medications that they give the baby the moment it is born. I mean, pops out, get a shot, the moment it is born, and there's less than 1%. That means there's still a chance that those babies can get HIV, but there's less than 1% chance. That's a really good chance.
I know a case where father and the mother had HIV.
Yeah.
Son was
Yeah.
negative.
And should be. But they have to give them all of that medication and stuff to kill that stuff, So like I said, there's a less than 1, even if both parents are infected, there's a less than 1% chance. What I see is even more amazing is that one parent is infected, and they've been married for 20 years, and the other parent is not infected. You've got to learn how to live with HIV to not infect the other person. You know, so it's an amazing thing. And so, you know, they've done some really good stuff. Without treatment, without treatment, the transmission rate between mother and child with no treatment at all is 25%. That's a bunch. 25%. However, with drug treatment, C-section, this is reduced to 1% or less than 1%. That still means they could get it. So they watch them real close for the first 6 or 8 weeks to make sure, and then you know they live their life either with it or without it. HIV is also found in saliva, not a whole lot, but in saliva, in very low concentrations in saliva, in tears, in urine. Yes, of course, of infected individuals. I'm not going to get it. I have 2 pages. Now, here's the deal. We've already talked about mosquitoes, but HIV absolutely cannot be transmitted by mosquitoes or other insects. Eating or drinking after someone. Let me ask you something. If there's somebody right there and they have you know for a fact they have HIV, and they drink out of a coffee cup, and they set the coffee cup back down, are you going to go and get the coffee cup and drink after them? No. No. Do you? I don't know. Somebody in here might have HIV, and I don't know. But if you drink out of that, you know, I know Mr. Mark over there pretty good. We've known each other for years. I love Mr. Mark. He's a good friend of mine. He drinks out of coffee cup and says, I ain't drinking after him either. Not because I think he's got HIV. I just ain't drinking after him. You know, I'm going to go clean the cup maybe, and then I'll drink out the cup. But it's about the same thing. What are we doing? Having fights? All right. Good being here where we're all safe in this now. You can't get it for eating after somebody. You can't get it for hugging. Can't get it from sweat. Can't get it from tears, urine, vomit, sneezing. Although I'm going to tell you this, look. Don't let anybody sneeze on you. I don't want people, look, I see people all the time put their arm, you know, cover your mouth somewhere if you're gonna sneeze, cover your mouth. Okay? I don't want you sneezing on me. I don't understand. I know all the little sayings about when somebody sneezes, people say, well, bless you. Right? Why do they say that? Some people back in the day used to say if you don't say bless, when you sneeze, your soul goes out of your body. And if somebody doesn't say bless you, it won't come back. Other people say when you sneeze, your heart stops. And somebody don't say bless you, it won't start up again. Neither one of those are true. And I got this real issue. Somebody sneezes. Sneeze can come out at 250 miles per hour. And you got snot and spit and disease. All of that kind of junk is going out there hitting people. I'm not going to say bless you, thank you for doing all that. You know, keep that stuff up. So you can't get it from that stuff. That doesn't mean that you want to avail yourself of that. Now, how do you prevent it?
What, HIV?
Yes, what we've been talking about now.
Sex.
How do you do it?
Having protected sex.
What would you say? Abstinence.
Man, we all wrong. Having protected sex. Let me real.
Having protected sex. There's some people who are forced into abstinence. You know, some of you guys so ugly ain't no girl. You know, I mean, you know, just be real. No. Really, seriously, most people are not going to go the abstinent way. But that is the only absolute way, right? Is just not to have sex at all. And there are people in the world who don't do that. There are priests who never Well, they say they never. You know, but anyway, they are. Yes.
But I wouldn't just totally agree with that because if you do blood transfusion.
Well, you could. Yeah. He said, you know, Mr. Gold said he wouldn't totally agree with the abstinent thing because you could get it in other ways.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna get it by sex, but you can get it from other ways. And there are people who choose to be abstinent. The other thing is physical barriers, like you said, protected sex. One of the other things is just be monogamous. We don't know what that word means. People who do know what that word means don't do that word. Yes, sir.
I got another thing that I first did relationship with before I go to the test.
Yeah. Do you get tested? Do you get tested before or after?
Before.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's real romantic. You know, when you're out in the back of the car and talking and you're loving on each other and you say, look, I like you a lot. Let's go down to the health department and get checked. I want to see what you got. Yeah, you know.
No, that's after you recorded for a while.
Yeah. That's how you ought to do it.
It's a virtual agreement.
That's how you ought to do it. Yeah. So being monogamous means you have one sexual partner. You don't deviate from that. And that means both of you have one sexual partner. And you don't deviate from that. And, you know, I know a lot of people, you know, we're not going to do that, but we use latex condoms. And that helps to reduce sexual transmission. Now, spermicide, when used alone or with vaginal contraceptives, such as a diaphragm, increases male-to-male transmission due to inflammation of the vagina and should not be considered a barrier. Spermicide does nothing to stop the HIV virus. Matter of fact, it will make it more likely that you get it because the spermicide, once you use that stuff, it can cause friction. Yeah, it can cause friction, and that friction causes a little bit of open place, and you can get it. Research is underway to get there is a relationship between male circumcision and HIV, and so we're going to be looking at that pretty quickly. Or they're looking at it. We're not going to look at it. So, male circumcision leads to a reduction of infection risk in heterosexual men by 60%. 60%. So, if you're not circumcised, you need to make sure you're covered. So, it's getting close to our break time. We went through there a lot. We got a little bit more to talk about that. Come back in at 15 minutes after, and we will continue.
We'll look at it that way.
Get home, and I'm moved to like, ain't no person who can't tell everybody. Mine is it's crazy. Yeah. I didn't even say this. It's education. I really know all this stuff. About this at community. I didn't hear about how people say, yeah, this is so this one that you don't get that much. Somebody else like somebody else will. But I was like, man, you know, like, you want $100.
I was doing homework. One of y'all got put up.
The liquid I use on hydrate, the chef is cooking. The broth, and I see some way and just rest. You should. You talking yeah. So you know just the rest like oh yeah, so I already how old are you? It's I there. The that's listen.
No, I didn't just go over here.
The vegetarian. So you they don't have to have leadership. I ain't everybody told you. So don't have yeah. Like, yeah, if you just drink a lot of water, just rest. Yeah. That's how tall are you? What's your weight? No fear. You have interest? You have naked back pain? Toxin or workers? Come to you, how bad? Okay, yeah. Yeah. So you coughing on allergies? Stomach. Gotta drink a lot of water.
Yes.
Time to anxiety. So you must feel it. When you thought about suicide?
Yes, brother, see that I'm yesterday.
I'm telling you, one thing, abuse, trauma, you, child.
This guy's,
I can't name them all.
man, I can't name my
Okay, I'm just gonna put, talk to your counselor. Well, you go lay down. But after
time for back.
And
It's that's the deep.
this how it is first. Oh, you just go from there? I can check out. When I get finished today, I'll come back. That's all. Oh, you I know.
Right. All right, guys, let's go.
All right, we're back.
Yes,
The rest of this may not be as interesting as the front of it, So we may go through this a little quickly, but we do have nowadays, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but we do have treatment for it now. There for a long time there was no good treatment. But now we do have treatment. There is I can't say the word, antiretroviral treatments. It is post-exposure stuff. Once you've got it, you can use these things to get rid of it. We have some whole bunch of different drugs that we can take now for it. Now, they don't come free. They're pretty expensive. That's when we talked about the guy staying in prison out there. And that's one of the reasons they stay out there, because it's a lot of money for them to do that. But, they've been there a long time, so they're kind of used to it. They're also, you have to pay for it in physical things. There's a lot of nausea and vomiting with some of these pills. There's a lot of diarrhea, dizziness, weakness. You can get a rash. You can build some resistance to some of these, and so that's why they keep changing them around. It's called a cocktail. So they change the cocktail, 3 or 4 different types of drugs. They change it from time to time. One of the biggest things that happens with folks is non-compliance. So what does that mean?
They didn't do what they was.
Yeah,
They didn't do it the way they were instructed.
That's a good way to say it. They didn't do it the way the doctor said. Take the medicine. Take the medicine. Do it. Take it at this point, at that point. And I have the worst. I'm not going to say the worst pharmacy in the world. I'm sure there's others that are worse. But my pharmacy, a lot of the time, we go in, we turn in. You're supposed to turn in your medicine. Your prescription a few days before you run out. We do all of that stuff, and still, they don't do it right. So I'm not going to do these. We don't need to. There's a whole lot of different medicines. I'm not going to go through them because we wouldn't know what they were. There's just a whole bunch of them, but I'm not going to go through every one of those drugs. Just know that there's plenty of them out there. There's also plenty of places to get tested for that. So, anybody know what the tests are? There are 2 different tests to find out whether you have HIV. The first one is called the ELISA test. There's a ship down in Galveston it's about the same, sounds about the same. That's called the ELISA. So if you suspect you might have it, if you've had some suspicious sexual encounters or anything like that, or a blood transfusion in Mexico or anything like that, you go to your doctor and tell them you need the ELISA test. And so they're going to take the ELISA test, and it can tell you, yes, you have HIV. It can also tell you, no, you don't have it. It can lie also both ways. So if it says, no, you don't have it, you need to wait like 3 weeks and take the test again. If the test says at that time, no, you don't have it, then you probably don't have it, right? But if it says, yes, you have it, you need to wait about 3 weeks and take it again. And if it says, yes, you have it again, then you need to do the second test. Now, you need to wait about 3 months before you take the first test. Because you wait 3 months because what the test is looking for is the antibodies, the T cells that your body is building up to fight HIV. You had your hand up there, Harold?
Yeah, I know a little bit about that. I know somebody that's got it. I was told that it can actually stay in the system a year or 2 before you have it. Is that true?
Well, yeah, it can be. Yeah, it can be. Before you start having symptoms like, but if you have a suspicion, the antibodies are going to be in your body in about 3 months.
Yeah. Okay.
They'll be there in about 3 months because your body's going to try to fight it. So and that's what we're testing for, to see if those antibodies have come up.
And you mean to say, when you take the second test, 3 months?
No,
Mine
it,
says 2 weeks, then you come back to the first test.
it takes about three months for the antibodies to build up. So you take the first test, and that test says yes, those antibodies are there. Then you go. I'd wait about 3 weeks, and then go take the test again. And then if it says then yes you have it, then you go take the second test, which is a much a better test. So it is more succinct. It is more likely to tell you the truth. So why wouldn't you take it first? Cost. Yeah. The ELISA test is about $38. The next one is called the Texas Blot, and the Texas Blot is 10 times that. So you don't want to take that unless you have to take that. You're going to go spend $400. Have to do that. Insurance would usually play that. There's a lot of places that'll do it for free. If you go to Houston, what's the name of the road down there where you can get everything like that for free? What is it?
You get it from Legacy too.
No, I can't think of the road, but there's like 12 clinics down there, and we used to have a facility down there. I can't think of it. If I said it, you would know it. Most of everybody. So HIV and substance use. This is the reason we talk about it. There is an increased risk for HIV due to IV drug use. Right? Look, there is no good way to clean the stuff that you're using. No good way to clean that out. To clean the needles or the equipment, whatever you use, and there's no good way to do that. So, IV drug use, immune suppression, lowering of inhibitions. Because like we said, when you use drugs or alcohol, you will do anything and anybody. That makes any difference.
Yeah. She was a 10, but yet she was a dud.
Yeah. Yeah. So, there are also, there are sex workers out there. In the United States, prostitution is still illegal. There are countries where it's legal. In Germany, prostitution is legal.
Amsterdam, too, man.
Say it again. Amsterdam, places like that.
Las Vegas, Nevada, they just got to have that authority.
Yeah.
They got the bunny ranch and all that. It's legal.
In some states in the United States, the guys are saying it's prostitution is legal there. But where prostitution is legal, then usually those sex workers have health cards and they're tested and all that kind of stuff, which makes it a tiny bit more physically safe. Spiritually, it's a train wreck anyway. But where it's not legal, and there's places out here or people out here doing that, male or female, that are sex workers, they haven't been tested by anybody for anything. So they might have anything. Sex addiction. A lot of people are addicted to sex. And I've had guys in groups say, whoa, no, you're not, you're not. Medication non-compliance. If you don't stay, if you get the medication and you don't stay on the medication, then you have a bigger chance of getting deeper and all of that kind of stuff. There's an increased risk for AIDS diagnosed related to immune suppression due to substance abuse. This is one thing we don't really know. Well, you may know it. We've got a lot of really intelligent people that are well learned in this group. But when you use drugs and alcohol, it does the same thing to you that HIV does. HIV lowers your immune system. Use of drugs and alcohol lowers your immune system. People who use a lot, and notice that, people who use a lot of drugs and alcohol get sick quicker and more often than people who don't. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. So you look at some of these people who are heavy drug users and they're sick all the time. They're sick all the time. Back when I was using, I was never well. So Increased risk for AIDS diagnosed due to super infection. What does that mean? Well, you know, you've got HIV. So what happens if you have HIV and you go out and you have sex with someone who has HIV?
You just got a double whammy.
It reinforces the HIV that you already have. What if they have syphilis, or what if they have chlamydia? What if they have gonorrhea, or all of that kind of ugly mess?
It makes it very, very sexy.
Becomes a super infection. It's something that you can't fight. You know, there's nothing. It's a super bug. So these are still some prevention issues, some things. How do I not get this? Studies have shown that just a few beers, not a whole bunch of booze, not a whole bunch of cocaine, just a few beers can make a person's T cell 25 to 50% more susceptible to HIV infection. So that means your ability to fight infection has dropped by 25 to 50% just by using a few beers. Just by drinking a few beers. Yeah. So, you know, I had a guy tell me not too long ago, he said, well, I don't drink alcohol. If you don't drink alcohol? No, I don't drink alcohol. Every now and then, you know, I drink a few beers. What do you think's in beer? Beer is a vehicle for the alcohol. Just like wine and wine coolers is a vehicle for the alcohol. That's just what that is. You know, it's just a way to get it in my system. Opiates and marijuana suppress the T cells even worse. People say, marijuana good for you. You know, they use marijuana to treat diseases. No, they don't. Marijuana suppresses your T cells, makes you more susceptible to every disease out there. I have people tell me all the time, especially children, tell me all the time how good marijuana is for you. Marijuana, oh yeah, they got real good reasons to want to use it. It has nothing to do with stage 4 cancer. Women, listen north, women taking oral contraceptives have a higher susceptibility rate for HIV because of suppression of immune cells. So the oral contraceptives also lower your immune system. So that's kind of a whammy, isn't it? Trying to take care of yourself. And then cocaine speeds up. Look. Cocaine speeds up the replication of HIV up to 1,100 times. What HIV does is goes into your body and attacks your cells. And then it goes in and takes over the cell, and when it kind of becomes the cell, and then it replicates. And now there's 2 of them, and 4 of them, and 9 of them, and it's just replicating all through your body like the cancer cell. And so if you're using cocaine, it excites that cell, and all of a sudden, it's doing it at 1,100 times the rate. Where it was going, now it's going.
That's why it killed Jenny Gump so fast.
Yeah. Now, you know, I mean, that to me is amazing. So here's the deal. To prevent that, it's real simple, right? Don't use like Miss the president's wife, whichever one it was. Just don't do it. Just say no. Stop it. Cut it out. All right.
I signed the pledge at 5th grade.
Yeah, I had to.
All right, so there's a lot of stuff we have that we're through. Any questions, comments, or snide remarks on HIV and AIDS?
Oh, I got a quick question now. You said that a woman can have a better chance of catching out HIV by using
Well, I didn't say she could catch it from it, but what I said was that when a lady takes the oral contraceptive, it lowers her immune system so that she is more susceptible to getting it. So, just because look, sometimes, now I don't know anybody at North that's like this, I don't know anybody over here that's like that, but sometimes people are a little bit off the beam, because I have had people say that when they couldn't get that because they're on a contraceptive. Contraceptives don't do anything to keep you from getting an STD of any type. That there's not going to happen. So you can take all the contraceptives you want, but you're not going to. Say it again. It's supposed to, yeah. When they work correctly, yeah, it does. So, alrighty then. We're going to move on over to hepatitis. The first thing we're going to look at, and we're going to talk about this a little bit today, but there's no way we're going to finish all this stuff. So we'll probably be back on Wednesday doing the same thing. Hepatitis A is a virus. It's caused by infection with the hepatitis A virus. It's the virus that's classified as a piconavirus. Now, some of that stuff we don't need to even know about, but I'm going to get the important parts of it. Thank you for getting that up. Somebody could have gotten hurt with that. The virus can produce either asymptomatic or symptomatic infection in humans after an average incubation period of 28 days. So what does asymptomatic mean? You don't have any symptoms. Anytime you have a word with A in front of it, it means the opposite of that word. So asymptomatic means you don't have any symptoms. But you could. It says it could be either asymptomatic or it could be symptomatic. So you could either have it or not have it. That comes from our ice machine in there. It's leaking, running under the... and it's usually, it's incubated, stays in there for about 28 days before you have anything that you can tell about. It appears to induce lifelong, the infection appears to induce lifelong protection against subsequent infection. What does that mean?
Can't get it no more.
Can't get it no more. Once you have it, you can't get it again. Your body sets itself up to protect itself against it. That's one of the things they were talking about COVID. That if you get COVID, you should build up antibodies to the COVID, and you won't get it anymore. That's not true. We've had people have it 5 or 6 times. We've had it 4 times. I've had it once. I did exactly what you're supposed to do to keep from getting it. I never took a shot. Anytime the government comes up and says, you will do that, I'm like, wait a minute. No, I didn't do that. They didn't test that stuff. No. It's not really a vaccine. You don't know what's in it. Right now, young men are having heart attacks because I never took the shot.
I never took the shot.
I took it because of our job for injection. But anyways, I'd never had migraines, nor had I ever had blood pressure issues. Ever.
But now you do?
Yep.
And it's point?
Yep.
See, but I'm not going to take something that I'm not sure about. So I haven't taken any of them. My wife hasn't taken any of them. Both of us have had COVID, really mild COVID thing. But, and that is a personal choice for the individual. So if I felt like I needed to take it, I would take it. But I didn't. It's not a virus. It's just a shot, and they don't tell you what's in it. No, I'm not going to do that. And where I really decided I wasn't going to do it was when the president, Mr. Biden, said, I think it was Mr. Trump, said, okay, we're going to fix this up so y'all have to get it done real quickly so nobody can sue you if it messes up. What? Oh, no.
You couldn't sue the manufacturer.
Yeah, can't sue the manufacturer.
But it never said you couldn't go against the employer or the company.
Right. You might can do something like that. It would do you any good because that law is there where they can't be sued. So, So anyway, when they did that, I said, okay, let's not do that. So anyway, worked out pretty well for us. And I remember President, what's his name? Biden was up there and he said, if y'all get this shot, you won't get the You won't get the stuff. He had 4 or 5 shots and 3 boosters, and he got COVID. And so that wasn't true. Yes, sir.
That's what I don't understand about the COVID. It's been around for years.
Yeah.
I mean, years, way back when.
Yeah.
Because if you ever take notes on Lysol,
Yeah.
it tells you like this and all this.
Well, it's
Been on it years.
Well, what's been on the can is the coronavirus. Coronavirus, there's about 14 different viruses that are coronavirus. COVID is just one coronavirus. And the cold is a coronavirus. And so, it's been on that can for 100 years. But the strain that became COVID has not been. The strain that became COVID came from somewhere else, which we ain't going to talk about because we ain't talking about COVID. We ain't talking about COVID. So we're talking about this other stuff. It's caused by all of that kind of stuff. The virus can produce all of those things. And if the infection appears to induce lifelong protection, that's a good thing. Only one serotype has been observed among this that isolates and collects them from various parts of the world. So, several hepatitis A vaccines have been developed and evaluated in clinical trials, proven long-term protection against them. So hepatitis C, you can get some protection. A, you can get some protection from. There's a lot of it in sub-Saharan Africa. There's a whole lot of it in Mexico. There's a whole lot of it for some reason in Greenland. Y'all know the island, Greenland up there. They have some issues with that. So overall, hepatitis A rates have been going down. Currently, they're at historically low levels. During the past 50 years in the United States, we have it has gone down by about 80%. So that's a pretty good thing. Most of it that's in the United States is in the eastern part of the United States. Texas has between a rate of 20,000 to 100,000 cases at any given time. So it does happen. So I'm not going to go over how many is in each county. Top 10 states with hepatitis A. The top is Arizona. Number 2 is Alaska, Oregon, New Mexico, Utah, Washington, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Idaho, Nevada, and California. Did you notice a really good thing?
They're all liberal Democratic states.
They're not in. We're talking about politics. There's none in Texas. Texas is not in that list. There's cases of it here, but it's not in that list. Average of 30 days incubation. It can have a range of 15 days to 50 days, so the average is 30. Some of these I'm going over, just there's stuff like that. Makes no difference. So where do you get hepatitis A?
Where did you get it from?
Yeah.
Sure.
Where? Where's that from?
Food.
From food.
Eat out with somebody.
If you eat somebody's food, no, that's when you get slapped. That's different. Don't eat my food. Oh.
Share needles.
No. Usually, and it sounds kind of nasty, and it is kind of nasty, but usually you get hepatitis A by eating poop.
Eating poop?
Eating poop. Eating people poop. Yeah.
Human feces?
Yeah. That's how they say it in him. Human feces. Yeah. That's people poop. Yeah. So transmission of hepatitis A virus generally occurs as a result of a susceptible person. Who would be a susceptible person? Somebody with their immune system challenged a little bit. If you drink or you use drugs, then your immune system is challenged a little bit. You go to a restaurant and you eat, you think there might be some human feces in your food. When you go to the potty in a restaurant, what is the one sign you're going to see in that potty? All employees must wash hands. And in some of them, you'll even see instructions on how to do that. Use soap and hot water. Rub your hands together vigorously for 4 seconds. Yeah, from your elbow to your hand. Because, you know, when people go to the potty, they do stuff in there. And when they go back into, I was in a particular restaurant the other day, and the guy came in, he had the stuff on that had the restaurant's name on it and all of that kind of stuff. He went in, he did what he did, and he went out. I didn't see him wash his hand. He might have washed his hand in the commode. I don't know. You know, but I didn't see him do that. And so I'm sitting there going, okay. Yeah, did he cook my food? Suddenly it don't taste as good as I might be getting the hepatitis A. So, the result of a susceptible person, if you're in really good health, your immune system is really, rambunctious, it's really good, it's in good shape, you're probably not going to get it from a little bit, because it's not like they put a handful of poop in your meal. It's microscopic stuff. You never know, but usually it's microscopic stuff, So, a susceptible person ingesting the virus that has been shed in the feces of an infected person. So, okay, that's how you get it. Just when you go next time you go out to eat, just be careful. Be careful. When that old boy comes up there, brings your food out there, say, "Let me see your hand."
Put that dog brown gravy on top of that steak.
So, close personal contact is the most common mode of HIV transmission, as demonstrated by high rates of infection among household and sex contacts of persons with hepatitis A and among children in daycare center outbreaks. Contaminated food and water can also be served as vehicles of HIV transmission. The vehicles of transmission in foodborne outbreaks are most often uncooked foods or foods touched by human hands after cooking. But outbreaks have been reported in association with foods contaminated before wholesale distribution. Because HIV can survive for 12 weeks or more in water, infection can occur by ingesting of a variety of shellfish harvested from sewage-contaminated areas. It's all about food. Yeah. It's all about food. So seriously, I'm going to tell you, if I'm in a restaurant, if I'm in the bathroom and somebody walks through there, if he's walking out of there and he's not washed his hands, or I'm not being a ladies' restroom, but if he's not washed his hands, I'm going to call him down. I didn't do it the other day. I actually saw that guy, but he was going out the door before I realized what was happening. But hey, man, dude, wash your hands. Hey, you finna cook some food, wash your hands. You finna touch some food, wash your hands. Of course, once you call them down like that, you have no idea what they're going to do to your food now. Yeah. So anyway, you can get it from all of that kind of stuff. Waterborne outbreaks have been associated with drinking fecally contaminated water, swimming in contaminated swimming pools, lakes. In addition, transmission can occur as a result of blood exposures, injecting blood transfusion, because that virus can occur to onset of illness in affected person. So, lots of things. Now, why is that? All right. That's all about that. I don't want to know. Y'all want to know anything else about hepatitis A? Lots of stuff.
I wouldn't mind if you want to learn about it.
Yeah, I'm going to give you all of this stuff if you need it. But here's the deal: don't eat.
Yeah,
Don't eat poop. Don't eat poop.
So
If you go to a restaurant and you see a guy scratching things, he ought not be scratching while he's cooking. Don't eat the food. Don't do it. So how do you prevent HAV? Don't eat poop. That's the first thing. Do not be a poop eater. There is a vaccination. It's a pre-exposure vaccination. If you feel like, if you go to a restaurant a whole lot of times and the guys just look poopy, you see some poop in the corner, stuff like that. Before you go, you can get a vaccination against that. Look, one of the biggest things, and people say this all the time and they don't really take it to heart, is good hygiene. Just make sure you're washing your hands and make sure people who are handling your food are washing theirs. When somebody's coming out of the bathroom doing this, no, that ain't good enough. Go back and wash your hands. And I'm not an aggressive person. Y'all know that. I'm also not a passive person. I'm an assertive person. If you're gonna cook my food, you're gonna wash your hands. Wash your hands. I'm gonna tell you. Clean water systems, avoidance of food contamination. We have the health department guys come by here every now and then and look at what Q's doing in there, right? They come, they walk through there, they check everything, they make sure that it's clean. So, man, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't have, people cooking food in here and giving it to you and they didn't clean their hands and all of that kind of stuff. I watch the chef and he washes his hands constantly. He's in that thing over there washing his hands. He's making sure everything's clean. So, we've got a pretty good situation where that's going on. So he's a pretty good guy at that. So there are a lot of considerations. We do have a vaccination strategy. There are some things. If you're going to the people who are more than likely going to catch HAV are people going to other countries. I'm planning on going to a couple of other countries here in the near future. I'm going to Switzerland.
Nice.
Lots of poop in Switzerland, and I'm going to go to Scotland. And I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but it's going to happen. But travelers to developing both of those countries are pretty developed. But if you're going to a developing country, one that is not on the same level as this country, I'm going to tell you, if you go to a restaurant around here, you still have this to watch out for because it still happens. We were at a Chinese restaurant, and it's a pretty nice restaurant. And on the wall back there, the waiters were standing on the wall with a little white cloth around, and they're standing there waiting for someone. You do like that, and they come to your table. And there was a roach come running across the floor. Man, I had the big old wood roach. And those guys, they just about broke their necks. But they got that rope and they took him off and it was gone and they went right back to where they were. It was the funniest thing. But they were making sure, the roach was gone, But after that, every time I bit into something that was a little crunchy, I'm going, okay, that tastes a little roachy. So if you're going to some place like that, then you've got to be careful about that. Also, M to M sex, hepatitis A outbreaks among M to M, MSM have been reported frequently, and surveys have demonstrated a prevalence of HAV infection among MSM several-fold higher than among controlled population. Why is that? Men having sex with men.
Yeah.
Why do they get HAV more than the normal population?
Go from the back to the front.
they, yeah, we're having sex in the rectum, and that's where feces collects. And so, yeah, if you have a little tearing or something in the blood, then that happens. And illegal drug users and yeah, a lot of illegal people with chronic liver disease, because these folks, if you have chronic liver disease, you are more susceptible. See, your body is going to fight off a whole lot of that stuff, and you can, if you're healthy, you can eat some of that mess, and it'll just run right through your liver. Will take it out, get it out of there. But if you have chronic liver disease, if you've drank, used drugs all your life, and you have cirrhosis of the liver or fatty liver or something like that, then you're way susceptible to all of this stuff, and you can wind up with it. So you just need to be more careful about it.
Your liver ain't doing what it's supposed to do.
Say it again?
Your liver not doing what it's supposed to do.
Right. It's not. It's really weird, because when your liver breaks down like that, that means you're pretty close to death if you can't get another liver. And instead of breaking it down and putting it into your feces and into your urine, it turns it into a type of acid and puts it into your bloodstream. And then acid in your bloodstream goes up and collects in the area between your brain and your skull. And if you use drugs or you use alcohol for 20, 25, 30 years, you suffer from shrunken brain syndrome, and your brain will shrink up to about 20%. It'll shrink up that bit, so your brain's shrunken, and that's what we call wet brain. And you can actually get a traumatic brain injury from shaking your head. The brain's floating in acidic acid. It's really weird. So, all right. Okay. We don't have much time now. So the protection after you take it, there is vaccine, and the persistence of the antibodies that your body builds from that, at least 5 to 8 years among young adults and children. So, and it's a little bit longer for other folks. All right. Any questions on HAV? No questions about HAV. And I know that it sounds a little messy and all of that kind of stuff, but it's just true. It should be one of the easiest things that we can keep ourselves from. Just good hygiene. It freaks me out. My wife and my wife likes hamburgers. I'm not a real hamburger fan, but my wife likes hamburgers. And there's a place in Bridge City called the Hamburger Depot. They make some really good hamburgers. There's some really good hamburgers. We went over there one time. Last time we ever went there, the guy, the cook, was in the back, and he came out for some odd reason, and his pants were just dirty. They were light colored, and they were just dirty, and he kept wiping his hands on his pants like that. Okay, and they had like their 12-year-old son there, and their 12-year-old son is in and out of the kitchen, and I'm going, okay, he's 12. I don't know, he could have been 10. I don't know, but he was just a little bitty guy, and he wasn't in and out of there, and you know how kids are. They scratch things, they rub things, and then they put their fingers in things, and so we've not been back to that place because that can't be clean. So we need to be discerning about where we're going to eat, because I guarantee you, it can get in just about anything. If you've got somebody that's not washing their hands when they go to the bathroom, and that happens all the time, then you can get HAV. And we don't want HAV. Now, if you're really healthy, because I'm going to guarantee you this, and I've had people when I'm doing this one in group, and I've had people tell me, well, there ain't no way I've ever, you probably in your lifetime, you've snacked on a little bit of that human feces. It's microscopic. You're never going to know it, But if your immune system is down a little bit, then you could get that virus, and it'll make you sick like dog. And you'll be sick for a long time until you get off. And if your immune system is way down, and if your liver's not working well, it could cause you to suffer from croakification. Right? It kill you doorknob dead. So, questions, comments, or snide remarks? Everybody got it?
Yep.
Yeah, so from now on, when you go to the restaurant, smell your food. And if it smells a little off, maybe you shouldn't eat it. All right, gentlemen, we're going to quit 3 minutes early. Thank you, ladies. I will be over there this afternoon.